Hi, hello, and welcome back. Welcome back to each other's soulmate. Who are those broads? Hey guys, it's us. We're not just being secretive. We are back with season 2, episode 5, which is titled Four Women in a Funeral. So we decided to dress up like we were going to a funeral. You know, might as well. We were like, themes are so fun. We should start dressing up more. And we're just like, fuck it. Why not? You know? Why not? As we were talking, though, we realized this is just how we dress in our normal day to day. So, but yeah, once again, we are each other's soulmates. We are two broads talking about our 4 favorite broads in New York City. Let's just get right into season 2, episode 5.
Hell yeah. So this episode, I'm sure you can guess, is about life and death, the idea of it, and comparing life and death to the relationships that you're in. So we have some interesting storylines in this episode. We have Carrie, who is going to the funeral of a good friend, unfortunately. We have Charlotte, who has a threesome with a man and a ghost. We have Miranda, who has her first panic attack because she almost dies twice in this episode. It's like the most dangerous episode ever, for her especially. And then we have Samantha, who commits social, am I allowed to say the word?
Say sewer slide.
Okay, yeah. She commits social sewer slide. And we have to wonder through this episode, like, will she come back? And committing social sewer slide is a big deal when the line of work that you're in is public relations.
Yeah, when you're a publicist, you probably need to maintain your image.
Yeah. It's like if a professional bowler lost both of his arms. It's just not going to work.
You can bowl with your feet.
Can you?
I don't know.
As we invent a new sport. Just kidding. So this first scene, we have, we're getting ready for the funeral at Carrie's apartment, and Carrie's getting ready to head out, and Samantha shows up wearing this beautiful outfit. Come to find out, it was designed by the person who the funeral is for. This person, Javier, and he was a fashion designer who unfortunately died of a heroin overdose. He was a good personal friend of Carrie's. And when Samantha walks in wearing his designer clothing instead of a little black outfit, Carrie is, okay, honestly, I think this is like one of the weirdest statements, but she says, isn't it wrong to wear a dead man's designs to his own funeral?
No.
If I was
like, what a way...
designer, I would hope everybody would wear my designs to my funeral. Like that beautiful homage. Right?
Yeah.
I thought that was such a weird...
However, I have not been to a funeral of a fashion designer, so I don't know how that works. Because what if that's like taboo?
Oh. I once went to the funeral of somebody who worked their whole lives and fell in love at Disney. And it was a Disney funeral. Very interesting. Yeah, it was really cool. Well, you know, given the circumstances.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so right after that comment, Samantha's like, it's wrong not to wear this man's designs to his funeral. Like, why wouldn't you? And she said that the clothing was marked up 30% since he had died.
Yep.
And Carrie says that's the thing about New York. You're always more popular when you're not around.
Always. That's usually how just kind of like celebrity deaths go too. It's like you know, you can be super famous and you like, yeah, that's like, true.
I remember once as a kid, I was going to a funeral of a family member, and I remember nobody really liked this person, unfortunately, and then they unfortunately passed away. And I remember asking my mom, how come people like you more when you pass away, when you're dead? I still...
What'd she say?
You know? It's just, I guess you miss what you don't have anymore.
What did she say? Do you know? Or do you remember?
Just like, that's not true. What makes you think that? And I was like, y'all was talking some shit. But
okay.
Anyways, so yeah, no, Samantha's actually really excited about this funeral because of the PR opportunity. All of the people are gonna be there, and
I love her.
She says everyone's gonna be there, like it's a party. And
she's a Leo.
She is a Leo, and she is.
How many times do I have to say it?
But yeah, so Charlotte shows up. eventually, and Samantha's pissed. She's like, was everybody in town invited to this funeral? And they realize that Carrie got invited with a guest. That's how close she was with this guy. And
Yeah.
even Charlotte comments on how inappropriate, Samantha is dressed. And then we get to the funeral, and turns out Charlotte and Carrie are the inappropriate ones. Every single other person has on Javier's designs.
Damn right.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you noticed this person in the background, because obviously it's New York. People take fashion to like another level. There was a person in there with bright green hair, a white face, and bright red lips. It was giving Joker. Honestly, it was really cool.
Hot.
Yeah,
I need to go back and look.
yeah, because
never noticed before.
And honestly, the person seemed as non-binary as they can get. It was really cool. Like, yeah, like this very like androgynous looking person. So I thought that was a cool. Everybody looked really good in the funeral. But we have
Hold on.
sister speaking at the funeral. Wait, what?
Why so bi-curious?
No, seriously.
All right, I'm gonna escort myself out.
Bye.
That's so dumb.
That's
I
okay.
had to do it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we have the funeral going on, and Javier's sister is the one who's speaking, and she mentions that they're going to be opening up a charity in honor of Javier, and it is a house for those in the fashion industry who suffer from substance abuse. And that's
Javier
really
house.
cool. And Samantha jumps at the opportunity to get on that project, and they're like, Carrie and Charlotte are just like, wow, that's really nice of you. And she's like, forget nice, the mailing list will be priceless. She's gonna get everybody's unlisted phone numbers, and it's just, everyone.
That's so wild to me to still think that like you were able to just like look up someone's number.
I know.
Like,
back
ew.
Phone books. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the internet is pretty vast. You can still find people pretty easily.
Well, it's funny. I mean, because you can message him. Like, I mean, you don't even need a number now. You can just, there's DMs,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
Freaky. But, Samantha even says one man's death is another woman's PR opportunity. So she's hustling. She is always working. But then, as they're all here at the funeral, the wind starts to pick up, and Charlotte's hat blows in the breeze. It like flies away. And it makes its way to a headstone where a man is standing by himself. And he picks it up and hands it back to her. She's like apologizing, and he's like, it's nothing to lose your head over. And says that she liked hats, so it's fitting, really. And Charlotte's like, oh, is that your mom? And he's like, no, it's my wife. And you can see the look on Charlotte's face be like, sad. And then, like, you can see the light bulb go off and be like,
hopeful.
Yeah. And then the next word out of her mouth is kids with a question mark. He's like, no.
Oh, Charlotte. She must have been like ovulating or something this week because my God.
There's not even an exchange of names or anything.
No.
It's very like, we're going out. The chemistry was there.
I guess that's how that's how it works.
I know. Can you imagine picking somebody up at a cemetery? At their freaking like dead spouse's headstone?
Looking like this? Absolutely.
That's true. And then when they leave the funeral, they get in a cab together, Carrie, Charlotte, and Samantha. And Charlotte tells them about the guy and that, she's going to be meeting him for a drink soon. And they're like, how did you pick up a dude in a cemetery? Like, that's weird. And they're just like, dude, the widower thing is a definite no-no. Like, you just don't do that because of the dead wife factor.
Yeah.
For that. So they say it doesn't, you can't do that because it doesn't matter how much of a bitch she was when she was alive. Now she's dead and you're the bitch who can't live up to her.
I mean, yeah, that's a hard. I would imagine that's a hard scenario to be in because
Oh
obviously
yeah,
grief
definitely.
is just insurmountable, and having to move on after like being with married to someone like I can't imagine. It's never something I've never experienced. Being with someone where that they've had that's never happened to me. Um, so I couldn't even imagine what that's like, especially being like younger.
Yeah,
So like a widower, being a widow when you're young, that's it's awful.
terrifying. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're all telling her, "Don't do it, don't do it," and Charlotte's just like, don't talk about his wife like that. Don't be calling her a bitch. And Samantha's like, "See, it's happening already."
I thought that was funny.
And Charlotte argues back that he's in touch with his emotions from the experience. And honestly, the fact that he has been married before shows that he can commit.
This level of rationalization is a little bit insane. To to say he's emotionally sound because he's grieving his wife is wild. To
Well,
and okay,
just the fact
no,
that he
hold
has
on.
emotions is like what's her being like, oh my God, like,
Men have too many emotions. Let's be real.
but that's
They
now. This was
they have too many.
that's now though. This was the 90s, back when they were like, a little bitch if they cried. So,
Oh, they were emotions. They let it out. It's just that people just push it off as being a man.
yeah.
Yeah, like no, it's like no. No. But
Yeah.
no, this is wild to think that a man just lost his wife and he's now emotionally stable. What? When I experienced grief for the first time, I went off the fucking charts. I went insane. I was
Yeah.
the furthest bit from stable. Like, hell no. I had no idea what emotions were and what was real and what wasn't.
Nope.
It's like,
And when
yeah. So
that
to think that is
happens,
wild.
it doesn't resolve overnight, and it doesn't
It's
resolve in
not.
1 year.
Of course
You know,
not.
it's really intense. And so because of this intensity, her friends are trying to warn her, like, maybe this is a bit much for you, dude. They don't really give us any information on how long she's passed or how long ago she had passed,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure it was like not that long ago, given everything that's going on in the episode.
Right.
So yeah, Charlotte is just rationalizing all these red flags, making them pink flags, and just she wants this guy. She feels like it's fate too, and
Yeah.
she Samantha even tries telling her, if him having been married before shows you that he can commit, then date a divorced guy. Because then at least everybody's still alive and this whole dead wife factor isn't a factor anymore.
That's actually pretty, I mean, yeah. It's valid, but it's also not.
Yeah.
But she's trying to like be like, Charlie, get yourself together.
A little bit, yeah. She's like, honestly, she's trying to help save her from some heartache. And
Yeah.
she's just trying to be there for her friend, albeit,
Yeah. We
she's
have
not
to remember,
supportive of what she wants to do, but she's being supportive of her best interest.
yeah. And then we have to remember too, like, Charlotte is like the hopeless romantic,
She's
very much, very,
very
very much
starry-eyed,
so.
very crazy.
Sometimes it's more like like prevalent than other, men, but we have to remember she's sometimes like meets someone, she's like, this is it, I can feel it. And honestly, I feel her so heavy.
I was gonna
I
say
feel
that
her
is, yeah,
so heavy. I
yeah.
am like,
You're
truthfully,
Charlotte.
I'm like that.
You're like a blend of
But
Charlotte and Samantha.
so much so. But I get it. I mean, I get it because it's like when when you like meet someone. Like I'm very picky. I know who I like. I
As
know
you
who I
should be.
don't like. Right. So like when I meet someone that I'm really interested in, I'm all like, this is it. I was like, we're gonna make it work. Meanwhile, dude has
That's
no
funny.
idea even like exists. But
Man, that's funny. Oh, and then in true Carrie fashion, she doesn't even comment on any of this. This whole conversation's been between like freaking Samantha and Charlotte, and Carrie comes in with a, well, it didn't work for Big. All that marriage did was
It's
convince he hated committing.
it's that
And
classic Big's moving to Paris.
yeah,
It's that
exactly.
TikTok trend. If you guys haven't seen that, it's the three girls saying like talking about current events or whatever, and the last slide's Carrie, and like her big event is Big's moving to Paris. Which is
Oh,
technically a spoiler, so pay no attention to what I just said.
oh my gosh. But
Come
yeah,
on.
no, Charlotte hits her back with the you broke up with him. And Carrie says, so what? I'm the one with the commitment problem?
Yeah, yes.
Honestly,
Exactly.
Homeboy was about to take you on a vacation to the Caribbean that he was paying for.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But you know what's I mean, and then you have to I feel for Carrie in that because she was I think because I'm familiar with the feeling of like nipping it in the bud, realizing how difficult it might be for her thus far. It's been such a emotional roller coaster. She didn't probably want to continue with it. She's like, because knowing her, if like I relate in any aspect, like if you go spend more good memories with someone who still doesn't want to be with you, that also sucks.
I see.
You know, I mean, they're good memories, don't get me wrong, but you're growing more and more attached to a person who at the end of the day is probably still
That's
not going to want you. And
mm,
that's exactly. So
out.
I feel on both sides. I'm like I would love a vacation, but also like ouch.
Yeah,
So,
I could see that.
yeah.
But yeah, no. So Sharon's just like, well, I'm just saying, Carrie, her monologue to intro the next episode cuts Charlotte off and everything. I'm just like, she's like, shut up. And we see Miranda in the next episode touring an apartment.
Scene. I was like, what do you mean
I'm sorry,
episode?
not next episode.
I was like,
Next,
whoa,
you're
whoa,
right.
we are
This
going really fast on this one, guys. We're
oh
tearing
my
through
gosh.
episodes today.
And poor Miranda is like, she's doing this big, amazing thing. She's trying to buy her first apartment in Manhattan.
Bye.
That's
Not
a
ring.
huge deal
Bye.
by
Yeah.
herself, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
she keeps on getting hit with this phrase, "It's just you?" Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
The real estate asks Miranda, the real estate agent is like, is it just you? Miranda's like, yeah. And the real estate agent hits her back with this is such a big apartment to buy for just you. And Miranda's like, I have a lot of shoes. I'm like, you go, girl. And the real estate agent comes back with well, maybe your boyfriend will want to move in.
Okay, bold.
And Miranda's like, I don't have a boyfriend. It's just me.
Yeah.
And then the real estate agent actually tries to set her up with her son. And she's like, no thanks. But
that was more so for that
I'll
lady.
take the apartment though. So she buys the apartment and then takes herself out for a drink to celebrate.
Love that.
I
Love that.
know.
That's a big deal. It's a big deal.
That is so cool. Like,
Because that's the equivalent to buying a house. You know, in New York, you buy an apartment. You
probably
know,
more
so
expensive.
it's definitely more expensive. But yeah, so good. Kudos to her. This whole conversation reminds me though of I was just talking about this the other day. When you're single and like young and like go meet like family that you haven't talked to in a long time, or you're meeting people. So like people will be like, "Oh, nice to see you again," or like, "Oh, how have you been? Are you seeing anyone?" Like that seems to be the first question if you're not like married. They're like, "You seeing someone? You seeing someone?" And I'm like, "I have like a career. Like I do other like you haven't asked if I do anything else. You're asking if I'm seeing someone. That's what you're so interested about."
Oh,
So,
yeah. I get you.
yeah.
Being
Yeah.
married, I get hit with so when are you going to pop one out?
See, I didn't even think about that. Like the
Yeah.
other effect of like, okay, they're like, "Hey, let's move life along." And I'm like, first of all, no one wants to marry me. Second of all, let's slow down, man. Like you are rushing life for me more than I'm trying to rush it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I still got some adventures I want to have before I dedicate my life to someone else. But you know, there's always going to be something that people are trying to put you down about, right?
Always. Always.
Always. Uh, and then we have the next scene. Carrie's back at her apartment and she's by herself. And it's after the funeral, you know, she's still in her little black dress. And she starts thinking about how Miranda's out celebrating her future while she was in her home contemplating her own future.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she wonders how much time does she have left? And does anybody really know how much time they have left?
You
You know?
don't, yeah.
You don't. And that's, you know, it's kind of like a scary thought. You know, she talks about how so much was still undone in her life. You know, her friend died at like 32.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough. You know,
Mm-hmm. Way
like,
too young. Way too young.
yeah.
Super, super young.
And, you know, when you reach that age where, or I guess any age, when it happens where a friend of yours passes away, it hits you hard.
Oh, it's
It,
terrible.
it really shakes you.
Yeah.
They, she talks about how she's never been to Greece yet. She hasn't finished painting her bathroom. Her visa bill still wasn't paid in full. There's so many things that she just hasn't done, and she could be taken at any moment. This is just a reminder of that. So,
Yeah, you can definitely get a little existential. I think when you go, I
yeah,
think just going to a funeral makes you think of life, when you lose someone, you think of
yeah.
life at such a different level, and I think you pause to appreciate it a little bit more for
Oh, yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And she makes this comment, sometimes I feel like I was barely living. And that part hit me
That's
hard.
that's sad. Because
Yeah.
I think she's post breakup. She's trying to get her life together. She doesn't really have essentially like goals right now. You don't. She's not talking about
Right.
like a new thing. At work. She's not talking about like anything like that. She's just kind of grieving her
Yeah.
relationship and figuring out what she wants to do. And been there, and
Yeah.
it can be a pretty like melancholy fucking time.
It really is. So what does she do? She calls Mr. Big. She
Let me
calls
call
up
my
her ex.
ex-boyfriend.
How many of
Dude,
us have
that's
been there where we're so sad,
dude.
so we call
Dude, we're
somebody
so
up?
sad. That's so funny. I definitely don't like shied away from doing that like the older I get, but like you've been there. You're like, they're the only person who understands me. And I'm
The
like,
only person you feel
bullshit.
for, you know? Oh,
Well, okay,
yeah.
that statement makes more sense. I do believe like on a comfort level that like your partner can comfort you more than your friends in that aspect, like I can in like a holding, it's like there's other level of intimacy there that can make you just feel more secure rather than just like friendship support, you know? So I can see.
It depends on the person.
Mhm.
I feel like, and it depends on the situation too. Because there's certain situations where you need your partner, you need your
Oh, of
spouse.
course.
And then there's other situations where you need your friends, you know?
But that's what I'm saying though, is when you are single and you need that kind of comfort that you
That, you
now
can't
have.
get that from your friends, yeah.
Right. And now you have no access to it. That's what I'm saying. Like that's
I
where I'm
see.
like, you're longing for that level of comfort when you can't essentially have it. And I think that's
Yeah.
why people tend to run back to their exes or like, chat them up when they're feeling the need to be comforted more so than what they are getting.
I see that.
Yeah.
Man. This next scene is kind of hard to
Oh
watch,
no.
not gonna lie.
Dude, she has so many scenes that are hard to watch.
He does. Okay,
I
so
love
next
her.
scene, we have Samantha and Richard Cranwell. Okay. So Samantha, like we said earlier, she wants to do work for the Javier house to get access to the mailing list and the phone numbers of everybody in that group. So she's going to different people asking for donations for it, people within the socialite community who have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard Cranwell is one of them. And she's flirting heavily with him to get her way, and he is matching the energy. His name is Richard. I just noticed that his name is Richard. She, he even tells her to call him Dick. And she's like,
I
Dick.
think that's so funny how that's like the nickname for Richard.
I I need to look into where that comes from.
I know. Because like, why would you willingly like name your child like something
Dick.
and then their nickname be Dick?
Yeah. Or I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so the flirtation works and he gets on top of her and they start making out. And lo and behold, like, oh, and she says she's doing this act of making out with this guy for the good of strung out designers everywhere. That's why she's doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, Sandy Cranwell walks in and she's fucking pissed.
This is the
And,
wife.
huh?
This is the wife. We
Yeah,
didn't.
the wife. This is Mrs. Cranwell to
This is
Richard,
Dick.
and she's fucking pissed. She just tells Samantha, get out. And Samantha's like, I'll just leave the proposal on the table, and slinks out. And
Okay.
freaking Richard is just there like,
Okay. Here's my thing about this scene. I feel like this is such a weird character ploy for her, like in the writing. I mean, I get like having to like make this episode work. There is no way that Samantha, oh, you know what? I guess she just doesn't give a shit. Because I was like, there's no way that she doesn't know that he's married.
yeah,
There,
yeah.
she
But
has
she
to know.
stops as soon as she walks in the room, you know? And, it, these are
This
people
is
with. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, these are the moments, and we've talked about it before, obviously, in the threesome episode, like, Samantha just being like, oh, it's no big deal. And I'm like, Samantha, like, even though I understand you're seeing this as a business endeavor, but you can't just make out with people's husbands for money. That's crazy. Samantha Jones, public relations? No, ma'am.
No, what's crazy?
Samantha Marie Jones. Absolutely not.
Samantha Marie Jones. Mm-mm. No, and yeah, she pissed off the wrong bitch with this one, and we will find out how.
Dude, that I say this shit all the time. I say you have no idea who knows who you're gonna piss off. Like when you're out and about, don't be a prick. Like you never know if you can screw up. Like if
Not
you
just
need
like
something.
out and about, but online too. People
Oh,
seem to
that's
think
it.
that behind a keyboard it doesn't matter, but it's like, no, dude. Not only did everybody see that, but it's immortalized now.
Yeah, I'm big on that. Like the only time I'll ever bully on the internet if someone's being a dick. Like if someone's posting being like rude and nasty or someone's commenting something rude or nasty, that's when I go in for the kill. That's just my MO though. I'm like the bully of bullies for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm like, how do you not? And I was like, this is crazy. Like people are commenting from like public, their like personal Facebook pages. I'm like, so you're gonna piss off someone, and then you go click and you see that you work at so and so, and you're married to so and you have a picture of your kid who goes to so and so school. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is dangerous. You're
No,
being
seriously.
dangerous.
I like that time that I got cyberbullied. And like it's like so funny.
R.I.P.
Like, huh?
I was like, R.I.P.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's like I didn't even have to respond. Everybody else saw and everybody else went in for the kill. I didn't even have to like lift a finger.
I saw red. I saw red.
Everybody sees that shit. Especially if you're gonna do it on Facebook, dude. Like, come on.
I remember that day vividly. I was sitting at work on my chair and I saw that and I was like, oh, whoo. I was like, this is not the day, my friend.
I know. I remember that as the first and only time I've ever been cyberbullied. I was just
I
like,
get evil. I get evil when it comes to people messing with who I love. I get evil. I told that bitch straight up. I said, I know where you work. Don't fuck with me.
uh,
I was like, don't even play. I don't know you, but you're gonna know me if you keep this up.
but they are
Anyway,
past. They do not matter anymore, and that is okay. I hope they're happy
yeah.
wherever they are.
Sure.
But but next up, we have Miranda at the mortgage company filling out the paperwork for her brand new apartment. So, this should be a really happy occasion for her and a really big triumphant milestone in her life. But she keeps on getting hit with bullshit. You know,
Yeah.
the man who is giving her the paperwork to fill out, he's just like, he repeats the same phrase from before, you know, so it's just you. She's like, yeah. And so he tells her, check the single woman's box.
And he's being ugly about it.
He's being
Like
ugly.
yeah.
Just
His tone is being really just, what's the word? Like condescending. Like
yeah.
it's very, I'm like,
Like he doesn't believe
why?
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next line, what should have been a question was not phrased as a question. He says, the down payment is coming from your father.
What a wild assumption.
Yeah.
However, this was the 90s. We do
This
have
was,
to consider this was the
yeah.
90s, but like,
Like, what, like
but
2 3
damn.
decades after women could, like, get credit cards? Like,
That's true.
wild.
It's just wild. I'd be like, excuse the fuck out of me.
For fucking real. I'd be like, get me your manager.
I'm like, I have been working since I was 16 years old. Like the day I could work, I provided for
The
myself.
day you
Like
could work, you got like 3 jobs.
I had 3 jobs my senior year of high school. Damn straight. I said, gimme, I need my independence.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, no, he tells her, okay, check the single woman's box again. And it's like, I wonder if there's a single man's box. And honestly, he just like seems annoyed with her the whole
Yeah,
time. And I'm
exactly.
like, this bitch is out here buying real estate and he's annoyed with. This pisses me off, honestly.
Dude,
But
you
like,
know, he probably works for a mortgage company, but he can't even afford his own place. That's probably what's going on here. Like
yeah,
she's a fucking lawyer. Like what are you mad at, dude? You
yeah,
know?
dude. Lawyer in Manhattan.
Yeah, a corporate
Like,
lawyer.
yeah, she's probably making buku. Uh, so next scene, we have the 4 broads at dinner, all 4 of them finally for the first time in the episode. And Miranda tells them what happened and how she feels like this wouldn't have happened if I was a man. And Samantha comes in quick with the, if you were a man, I would date you.
I love her. Oh god, we're all Samantha Marie Jones, and we're like, I love Samantha. She has her moments.
This is still the beginning of the show. She has a character like arc.
Yeah, that's true. Better over
time.
Yeah.
And Miranda, she's just upset. You know, she says, I've got the money, I've got the job, and I still get it's just you. Which is like basically what you were saying earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't matter that you're here with a successful career in nursing. You're here with a budding career in comedy and a budding like podcast.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
You know, and they're gonna hit you with it's just you. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I get that. It's always, oh, she's seeing someone. My grandpa always goes, oh, so and so asked about you, and I'm like, okay. And they asked me if you were seeing someone. I love him dearly. And he always says, I don't know what to tell them. And I was like, dude, neither do I. I don't have an answer for you either, dude.
But I know what to tell them. Fuck off.
What?
Like, leave it alone.
Yeah.
For her. You know, she has her health. So like she has her life going for her. You're able to make decisions without like having to worry about anyone else.
For a while there though, I love my grandpa. He's just blunt. He just says whatever he wants. But for a while he'd like talk about my actual like current dating to people like from church, and I'm like, they don't need to know all that. He'll be like, oh, she went on a date with like some guy. I'm like, don't. Yes, that's all it is. You know what? That's him being a little chismoso. That's all it is.
He's so cute. I love him.
Oh, he's so precious. I love that man to absolute pieces. Shout out to Grandpa. Sometimes he watches the podcast, or he'll like start it, watch a little clip. So if he's listening, but he probably won't. That man.
Let me see. Where were we? Oh
So
yeah. Okay. So Miranda's like, I've got the money, I've got the job, and I still get it's just you. And
yeah,
Carrie's like, because it looks like you don't need a man, you know. And then Charlotte's
because you
like,
don't.
yeah. Miranda's like, I don't. And then
Oh
Charlotte,
yeah,
everyone needs a man. Honestly, that line annoys me. It's just the way she says
yeah,
it. I don't know. I love her, but that shit.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, she's like, that's why I rent. You know, if you own and he rents and the power structure's off, it's emasculating. And then she hits her with the men don't want a woman who is too self sufficient.
Meanwhile, Charlotte is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this is see,
I,
this is the you know what?
mm,
Cuz I can see both sides. I can see both sides. As someone who takes care of herself and stuff, I do feel like in the past being with the wrong people, it does emasculate some partners. And it does create a power structure, unfortunately. Um and I can see though, however, sometimes like my vigilance and hyper independence can get in the way of someone potentially actually wanting to provide for me, because I'm like, no, 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 what do you mean? Like, no, 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 I can't. You know, it makes you nervous when that's kind of like your coping mechanism too. Um so but like I would, you know, because I would want to do that. I'm like, I'm like, I want to meet someone who's like, oh yeah, let me pay the bills. Hell yeah. Don't be I'm like, can I work part-time? Like, hell yeah, let's do this. Oh, guys. But she has a point. Like, I can see both sides of like that statement, you know?
I do think that, I'm not going to say every man, but I do think that there is a significant amount of truth to the whole men don't want a woman who's too self sufficient. I really do kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel like in a lot of times they do want a bit of a damsel in distress so that
Oh,
they feel that
100%.
they can like they feel needed, you know, and they feel like by taking care of
Yeah.
like that power structure that Charlotte's talking about, if they're able to come in and take care of her, then it's like they're happy.
Yeah. Because most men naturally, you know, are providers, or like, you know, that's in history, you know, men were providers. And so, but it's not always the case now, which is why back then, you know, we're talking about them back then, so it might have been a little bit different. God, you know, it's funny. This just reminds me of another episode where they're like, "Oh my God, they get married and they're what, gonna just drop their career?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just
Yeah.
alludes to that.
Yeah. But oh, okay. So as this conversation comes to an end, the waitress comes by and she tells Samantha that her card was not accepted.
Uh
And
oh.
Samantha pushes it back. She's like, that's not possible. Do it again. And the waitress holds her ground. She says, maybe I'm not making myself clear. You and your card are not accepted here. Yep. At that moment, she realized that Miss Sandy Cranwell, a socialite in New York,
Mm-hmm.
who is extremely well connected, she took a social hit on Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
In 12 hours, she went from A-list to blacklist. And again, as somebody who works in public relations, that's taking
You're
away her benefits.
donezo. Yeah, everything, everything.
Everything. Okay.
And
So
as a Leo,
yeah.
as a theoretical Leo, if everyone just hated me if I woke up one day and everyone hated me for something, I don't know if I'd be able to survive. I'd go nuts. I'd go save puppies. I'd go fucking like help old people cross the road like all day long. I'd be like, please,
Like, what
God,
road are they crossing?
St. Mary's.
Oh, Grandma wants to go to freaking Brass Monkey.
Hell yeah, it's gonna be me.
I know, I'm going to be going to emo night in my 80s.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Like, hair. Ugh. Okay. So next scene, we have Charlotte and the widower out for drinks.
Oh, here we
We
go.
find out that his name is Ned, and they're having a
Ugh.
night together. You know, they have plenty to talk about. They have a lot in common, actually. Um, and then he even asks her out for another date. Yeah, it's a successful date. But then he goes to grab his wallet and like opens it up, and then you know how like in like more masculine wallets how they have that like flip out for
Mm-hmm.
the ID.
Yeah.
His flips out and it's a picture of his wife who passed away. And so this is, you know, obviously they don't have social media back then. So this is Charlotte's first time being able to see her. And she's like, "Oh wow, is that her? She's so pretty." And
Yeah.
immediately he's like, "Let's go. Like we need to get out of here."
Yeah.
And you know, she apologizes and he's like, "It's okay. It's just it's weird talking about her on a date." Which
Yeah.
like honestly when you think about that, that's really
That's it
fucking
is strange.
heavy. You know?
It is strange.
That
Yeah.
that that's grand.
Yeah, I
Or
wouldn't know how to
yeah.
navigate
I'm
that.
not even gonna pretend like I know how to navigate that. That's
Exactly.
brutal. And you know, they're walking back to whoever's apartment and he starts crying. Like honestly, rightfully so. Like that's a
Hmm.
lot.
Of
And
course.
you know, Carrie monologues over this part and she says, normally Charlotte normally Charlotte hates it when men cry. But she likes it on Ned.
What's so funny over there, Chuckles?
I've heard people say that before
Hmm.
that they don't like it when men cry.
I've
And
I've never said that out loud.
I didn't say it was you.
No, I know. You're alluding. It's not that I don't okay. It's not that I don't like it or it makes you uncomfortable. I encourage it. I just think in my past, men used crying as manipulation.
Yeah.
So
Like the
that's what
that gets
bothers me.
tiring and suddenly he misses his grandma who passed away 5 years ago. Like
Yeah, it's like I have seen like crocodile tears far too many a time. It doesn't make anything else like it doesn't make your emotions like less valid. I'm not trying to diminish like if you are truly feeling something, but in the majority of my partnerships, crying was used to just manipulate, and that's why I have a tad aversion to it, but I very much encourage men to cry. Men need to cry. Everyone needs to cry. Everyone
yeah,
needs to cry. Everyone.
yeah,
So
everybody. And it's just I think it's just funny. Like how do you hate it when men cry? Like that's so mean. It's just funny. But Charlotte likes it more on him.
drama.
You know, like and like Lee said before, she's just rationalizing all his little flags and stuff and he
Feel that.
apologizes. He's like, I'm just feeling a lot of things. And Charlotte, that was music to her ears. You know, she wants a man who's emotional, I guess. You
Okay.
know, yeah. And
This is grief. Like this isn't even emotions. Like
yeah, that's
this
what
is
I
just
mean.
pure
It's
grief.
like she's like using his grief as a means of being like he's sensitive, and I'm like he's traumatized.
Exactly. Oh,
Like,
Charlotte.
oh, Charlotte. But I guess like when you're used to dating dudes who like will not open up emotionally, you're gonna take the
Mm.
breadcrumbs, even if it
Yeah, I
means
could see
somebody
that.
fucking died. Ugh. But she hugs him to comfort him, and then they start kissing. And then, honestly, they said he only needed like 45 minutes to get over his crying because within 45 minutes they start having sex, and he comes not once but twice. You know.
All right.
And that night, and this is her little threesome because you know, under the eyes of a dead woman, you know, they had the photograph by the bed looking over them
Oh
as they had
God.
sex. And yeah, Charlotte's just elated. She's so
This
happy.
is what makes me like so happy to be I'm like a what's it called? I'm not very observant. Um so like if I were to walk into a dude's room, like I wouldn't even pay attention what's on the walls, you know?
You don't think you would notice if another woman was like on a photograph, gigantic framed photograph on his nightstand?
How hot's the guy?
Um,
I'm
let's.
making a joke.
I'm like, let's say he's like a 7, but he can make you laugh.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if you're in the moment, sometimes there's no, I don't even know where
Yeah.
I'm at. I'm like,
So I'm just around. Yeah.
it's like dark. There's like a one little lamp on,
If they have a lamp. Yeah.
No high hopes for Bella.
No, I just mean like med decor, like bottles.
No, I know, but that's
Bottles in
just
the
funny.
kitchen. Shit.
Stop.
No bed frame. I'm playing around with the
Dude, the fact that like a bed frame though, like that's so funny. Like, let's be real. I made, it's funny, just side note, I made a TikTok that I never posted and I totally should have. And it said something like, I just realized I was so pressed about a man who doesn't even own a bed, who refuses to buy one.
Was that
I'd
Mr.
rather sleep.
Homosexual?
Huh?
Was that Mr. Homosexual?
Yeah. I refuse. I'll sleep with a sheet on the floor. I'll just sleep on the floor. I'm like, you can afford a bed. You just not get one. What is this?
My God.
Get a bed frame, dude. Get a fucking sleeping bag.
Literally fucking.
You guys think I'm lying about dating being hard. Like, I got stories galore. Oh,
Man. Well, Charlotte tells Miranda and Carrie the next day at the park about how her date went with Ned, the widower. And Miranda hits her with the one word, rebound.
dun dun
And
dun.
Charlotte comes back with it's not a rebound if the other person is dead.
What would that be called? A revive? No. There has to be a cuter word for that.
Reanimation?
Hell yeah, reanimator. Sorry,
Yeah.
my horror brain.
I'm like thinking like Frankenstein, like ugh.
Yeah, that's funny.
But
yeah,
no, Charlotte's like, he's moving on and I'm helping him get over his wife. I'm sorry. I gotta
what? Yeah, like you can't even say that with a straight face because what a wild statement. That man is never gonna get over the death of his wife. Like that,
No.
you don't get over the death of anyone.
No.
So
you just learn to live around the gigantic gap in your life that was left over.
Yeah, the grief just tends to get easier to carry over the years.
Yeah.
So.
But Carrie's like, how was the sex?
Our resident
now.
Because her fucking columns probably dry as shit. She's going through a crisis.
For real. And okay, so I didn't mention this before, but when we see the headstone, we see that her name is Elizabeth, right?
Okay.
And a few times he refers to her as Elizabeth. But I noticed right here, Charlotte refers to her as Liz. She uses
like her nickname.
Yeah.
Ew, that's weird, dude.
And not only does she use the nickname as if she's like familiar with this person, she says that she felt like while they were making love that Liz was looking over them and giving them her blessing.
Dude, the fact that no one checked on Charlotte if she was like taking like drugs or something at this point in time, like, okay, however, I have been that delusional. So not in the same context.
I think we all have been,
But I have definitely been that delusional over a man.
She says, my hat flew right into her headstone. She was clearly sending a message.
What does Miranda say?
She says, "Yeah, don't stop fucking my husband, you hat bitch.
You hat wearing bitch.
Yeah.
Hat loving bitch.
Uh, and
Oh.
yeah, just cringe, cringe. So she tells them that Ned actually had invited her to a memorial service the next week, which makes me wonder
Mhm.
how long ago did she die? Like maybe like a
No,
year before that or something?
yeah, because
You
yeah,
typically have
it's
that like
weird.
around a year afterwards.
I guess so. I don't know. I've
Yeah,
never done or attended something like that, but
me neither.
yeah.
But, Charlotte's like, it's a sign that he's ready to move on with me. And Miranda's like, so you fucked him back to life? And she's like, in a way, yeah.
Honestly, I could so see myself saying that.
Yeah, I could see you saying that too. I could see myself being Miranda right there.
100%.
Ugh. Then Carrie's getting ready for her date with Big a little later that day. And she's talking about how all these feelings are coming up as she's like trying to get ready. So she's like, I'm feeling everything from like fear to happiness to dread. And I'm like, since when does dread come out when you're about to see the person that you like love? You know what I mean?
When it wasn't healthy.
Oh, okay. I didn't quite get that line. I was just like, what do you mean? Like, I
It's
could see the
scary.
part. I couldn't get the dread part.
Well, it's a little, you're like, I'm dreading what the outcome's going to be too, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, is this person going to be a part of my life again, or are they not going to be a part of my life again? And it's dealing
Yeah.
with that. That I completely understand.
Yeah. And she kind of ends it with this idea or question. She's like, in a world where everyone is dying to make a connection, can a relationship bring you back to life?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think some relationships heal parts of people that will never, that was the puzzle piece at the time. I do think
Yeah.
that's possible. I don't think it's optimal. I don't think that's like you shouldn't think that way for yourself, right? You shouldn't ever think, oh, someone's just going to come around and fix me, or they're going to fix my problems, or they're going to support me enough to do it. It's like you need to do the work yourself. However, in some circumstances, someone can come along and just kind of like maybe get you over a hump for whatever reason, right? And then
Yeah.
there you go. So it just depends, but I can see that happening.
Yeah. Well, next scene we see Carrie and Mr. Big on their date, and it's this really pretty romantic restaurant in New York, probably like very expensive. And we kind of enter their conversation, and they're talking to each other about what happens after you die.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks Carrie asks Mr. Big what he thinks, and he's like, I don't think about that. I'm too busy wondering who's dinging my car in the garage. I'm just like, prick.
Oh,
Ugh. And then she's like, well, I believe in reincarnation. And he's
he's
like,
like,
that's
that's the
the easy
easy
way.
way out.
Yeah. And then she asks him, what is your idea of heaven? And before we get into like what is your idea of heaven? Do you have an idea of heaven?
um, as a child, I did. As a child, I had an idea of heaven. And I guess when I visualize a heaven in my head, I do kind of still see it. Now, as an adult, I don't know if heaven's a good word. I do believe in an afterlife or an after energy for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how it works, but there's something about energy,
Yeah.
but like as a child, I remember heaven being, it's weird. And I don't know if it's because of like religious pictures or stuff that I grew up in, but it's surprisingly not, everyone thinks it's like Garden of like of Eden kind of thing. In my heaven, the background's gray, and it's just the people that you care. People. It's just people. Like my idea of heaven was people who passed, and just kind of like in this gray sunsetty kind of background.
I can see
So
that.
yeah.
Mine's always been kind of like a meadow within like some
Okay.
like woods. Kind of like Twilighty a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh
that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people envision like a
yeah.
garden, like luscious place. So
Yeah. And I imagine my cat Atlas and my dog Bender who passed there. That's why I want
yeah,
me when I, if I
you
go to.
know, in Catholicism, they say that dog animals don't go to heaven. And that made I know. Isn't that crazy? Because I remember my grandma telling me that when I was young. She's like, "Well, they say that they don't go," and I was like, you're gonna have to reread it because that's
But then
not
I'm
true."
here.
Yeah, and
Uh,
so, but she was saying, I guess I don't know if there was like discourse on it, but they're like, "Oh, there's a separate heaven for like animals," and I'm like, I refuse to believe that that's true. I'm like,
okay,
who
there's
came up with
so many
that?
other litter boxes out there.
Like, who came up with that? What do you mean there's a separate heaven for animals? No.
No. That reminds me of this thing that my mom used to tell me when I was growing up. Um, I guess in Puerto Rico, it's a belief. There's a belief that sometimes your pet will take the place for you in heaven.
No.
So there have been multiple
No.
instances in my family where I had a family member who was on their deathbed, and tragically and randomly their pet died. One time,
Oh.
it was a weenie dog, and a brick fell on her back when she was going under a shed. And the other one was a dog who was on one of those ties, and he wrapped himself around a motorcycle and it fell on him. And these crazy random things, right? But then the animal passes away, but then the person makes a miraculous recovery and they never have that same issue with their health again. I'm not
What?
even joking. I it's happened twice in my family.
Oh my
And so
god.
I guess, maybe they do go to heaven, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, in like in like Mexican culture, we talk about like like spirit guides and stuff too, and
Yeah. They take you to heaven
yeah,
or the
yeah, so,
afterworld, right? Or
yeah.
yeah,
So,
sweet babies. But yeah.
oh, I want a hairless dog so bad.
I
I
knew that
love
was gonna happen.
Sholos.
I was like, oh
I
shit, I
need
brought it up.
I need a Sholo so bad, dude. I just saw
Really?
one the other day who won the division at Westminster or whatever the fuck it is. I was like, oh, what a handsome little boy. They oiled
Oh,
him up.
oh my
I
gosh.
sorry. Now
No,
you
you're
got me
good.
talking about dumb Disney animals. I
Uh,
love Sholos. I love those dogs so
they're
much.
cute.
Frida had a Sholo. I
It's
need one now.
wild how often she comes up in conversation.
Isn't that crazy? I tend to like realize that, but then I'm like, she's always been pretty pivotal in my life
Yeah.
too. I also have a Marilyn Monroe in here, which makes sense also, and
Nice.
an Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction, and that
Dope.
captures my drug addiction really well.
I have a Janis Joplin tattoo. I'm not tattoo. I have a Janis Joplin poster up in
All
here.
right.
I think that's the only woman on my wall. Anyways.
Yeah, put some more
Back to the
people up in your
story.
office.
So, yeah, no, Mr. Big gets asked what his idea of heaven is, and he says it's a big bed. And they just say, come on in.
What a dog. Speaking of
Yeah,
dogs, like
yeah.
what a dog. Dude, if I was going on a date with my ex and he said that, like, I haven't seen you in a long time and blah, 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 and that came out of his mouth, I'd be like, oh, yeah? Uh huh. I know what you've been doing since the breakup, you know?
Mm-hmm. Qué lindo, ¿ah?
Jeez. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so she has kind of a similar reaction. She's like, your idea of heaven is a bed. He's like, well, it depends on who's in it.
Oh, chingo.
That's like the most like quick way to be like, I'm not gonna say it's you, but it could be you. Like,
Way to
like
make me feel secure.
yeah, really. But that's not really his strong suit with her, is it?
Never. Never.
No. But she hits him back with the, I'm not sleeping with you tonight.
Okay.
I know. Because he's like trying to like flirt with her, and he's like, But she's like, nope. And they make their way back to his apartment anyways. And they're at his doorway and they're making out. And again, she's getting this huge flood of like all of these different emotions, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like it felt great, it felt weird, it felt wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So she like cuts off their makeout session. You can see him literally like
Yeah.
like he gets dropped and she's like, I gotta go. She takes off and he's just there like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And as she's walking home, she's like panicked, you know, she's like got this anxiety, she's scared to death, you know. uh this is suddenly seeming like a really bad idea to her. And you know, the first time she says that the first time she got involved, she got out just in time. Would she
Mm-hmm.
be as lucky the second time?
Yeah, I get it. I've been there. I've done that. I got back with an ex. And you think of those things. You're like, oh, I'm subjecting myself to this all over again willingly, and that's hard.
That's
Um,
interesting. Does
yeah,
but like what was your rationalization? Like, did you feel
to
like it
go
was
to go
necessary?
forward.
Yeah. 'Cause
I
I've
don't think
never
it was.
done that, but like, what was the rationalization behind
Um,
the decision?
it was more so. I think I was hope. I still had the same amount of hope that it was gonna work out from the first time, but it was more so like I felt like it was fated. I was like, it was the love I had for the person. I was
Yeah,
like, I can't. If I can try and have this again in my life, I'm gonna try and have this again in my life. That it
like you
was more
were ready
so,
to throw the towel on the situation.
huh?
Like, like you weren't ready to be done with them.
No, I wanted to start again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. Ugh. And would she be as lucky the second time? Like, does that mean like get out before she's like seriously hurt? Like, is that
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What an interesting way to view the person that you're trying to love.
It is. It's very twisted.
Yeah,
We can
I
see
feel
that
like
is a very unhealthy way of navigating a relationship or dating. This is
yeah,
not optimal. I don't think that. I think if you're having these kind of fears, it's probably in your best interest to do what Carrie did and leave.
yeah.
Because
So at least get some
yeah,
space to like think about it
yeah.
clearly.
I think
Because
it's hard.
obviously
It's
she's not
hard.
thinking clearly with him there.
Yeah.
But oh, Samantha, we have her in the next scene, and Homegirl is getting thrown out of establishments. Oh my
Left and
goodness.
right.
So yeah, so like the first time she gets denied entry, she's like, it's probably just like an oversight. Like maybe it wasn't connected to that. And she's like, goes to a restaurant, and the hostess is like, we're full. And Samantha's like, I'll wait. And she's like, don't bother. Can you imagine?
Mm.
God. And then the third time, she's like actually physically thrown out of the establishment. Like they
Oof.
physically throw her out of there. And I love Samantha, but like she kind of deserved that. You don't fuck around with somebody's husband if you're not
In
willing
their
to accept
house.
in their
Also in
house,
their house.
on their couch.
No, ma'am.
You don't do that, and
Wide open.
consequences.
Wide open spaces. Just in the middle of the fucking living room. Like, what the fuck?
Ugh. But like, mm, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Not.
sorry. But if you fuck around with somebody who's married, do not be surprised when karma bites you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. We did. That's
saying
another
that as a
behavior.
married woman, like, that shit pisses me off because it's
Of course.
like why, you know? Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyways, Miranda heads out to her apartment and she wants to take some measurements, and she meets a little lady there, a little old lady. And the lady's really nice, you know. She's like, "Oh, it's gonna be so exciting to have somebody who's young bring some life into the house." And they're having friendly conversation, but then she starts describing the previous tenant, and it like freaks Miranda out. So
Well,
the
yeah.
previous tenant was a lady named Ruth who never married, and she actually died in the apartment. She said that because she was alone, that it was a week before anybody even found her. And she's like, and then rumor has it, the cat ate half of her face.
I always look at Mama. Is she behind me? No.
I know,
But
right?
I'm like,
It's
I always
like,
look at Mama and
that's
I'm like,
fucking crazy.
will you
And
eat
then,
me if I die? I'm like, I guess so.
and then right after that, she like pauses dramatically and she's like, so it's just you?
I love
The
the
stupid
comedic
shit. Anywhere.
timing.
Ugh.
Love
And
that.
then that night, poor Miranda, dude. So she like overfeeds her cat that night. And
Fatty! She
actually,
overfeeds Fatty.
they don't
Huh?
say his name in the episode. He doesn't get called Fatty until later, which I think it's because she starts overfeeding him.
Dude,
They
that's
only
so
refer to him
funny.
as Cat in this episode. I watched it multiple times and I made sure to listen out for that. But she does not call him Fatty in this episode. I do think that she made her cat overweight from overfeeding him because of that comment.
Fatty. His name is Fatty. I mean, I guess we do find out later, but oh, poor
He's a cute
Fatty.
kitty. He's a little tabby. Or
He's so cute. He's like a silver, right? He's like silver gray tabby.
yeah, very
Yeah,
cute cat.
he's so cute.
And Miranda has some Chinese food that she got, some takeout, and she's watching some like trash TV in her kitchen as she's like moving her new stuff into her brand new apartment. And then suddenly, she can't breathe. One of the little shrimps from her food gets lodged in her throat, in her trachea. She can't fucking breathe. And so she starts panicking and she's like going around the apartment, desperately trying to like fucking breathe. She
Yeah.
can't, and that's fucking scary. I've been in a situation before where I choked. That shit is terrifying. Oh my
Yeah.
god. And so she's running around like looking around, and finally she like goes up to the corner of a box and just like Heimlichs herself,
Mm-hmm.
and the little shrimp like flies out of her mouth onto the
Yeah.
counter.
Which is the correct thing to do if you are alone and choking.
Yes.
Use like a chair, use something sturdy. If you can't, because if you can self do CPR, you can try and self do CPR. But if you can't, run up into something like that to
Like the
jolt it
corner.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the corner or something. Just in case you did not know that. So yeah, you can
Just
give yourself the Heimlich.
yeah. And then she calls Carrie because she's freaking out. And, Carrie had that whole drama with Big, so she's just not answering the phone right now, And mind you, too, this is back before caller ID. So when the phone
Yeah.
is ringing, she doesn't know who's calling.
Right.
She just knows that the phone is ringing. And when the voicemail box takes over and she hears Miranda, Miranda's freaking the fuck out. She's like, ah! Like, I almost
Yeah, of
died and you're
course.
not even answering the phone.
Yeah.
And, she tells Carrie what happened, and she's like, she even says, like, I was so scared I was going to be the dead girl who watched bad TV. All these thoughts are running through her head. Like,
yeah.
And Carrie's just like, I'm sorry. I'll be there for you. Call me when this stuff happens, And she's like, do you want me to come over right now? And Miranda says, no, I'll see you tomorrow. But she's still like really obviously freaked out. She actually just goes to bed hungry and locks the cat in the kitchen for 2 days.
No, Patty. Oh god, but yeah, I mean that's terrifying.
And
I'm just
then
drinking like
this
liquids.
next scene is so hard to watch.
Oh god, oh shit, I almost fell. I almost fucking fell right now.
Huh?
I almost fell off the chair.
Oh my god, are we gonna get bloopers?
We're fucking talking about like accidents and shit. I'm like, oh no.
Like Final Destination up in here.
Fuck that movie, dude. No.
I think there's a new one coming out soon. I'm so excited.
Oh, scary.
Really?
Those ones freak me out. Yeah.
That's so funny. The ones that you like freak me out, and I guess the ones that I like freak you out.
Yeah, I'm a
What?
gore whore.
I'm a supernatural cunt. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want that on a t-shirt now.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that is so fucking funny. Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh.
Oh,
You love that.
so we have this next scene, and like we said, not losing your popularity as a public relations person is just, you don't have work if you do that. So Samantha actually puts on this like conservative outfit and goes to Shippy Shipman. And Shippy is a powerful socialite who was personally responsible for the demise of 70 social lives. So this woman,
Damn.
yeah, she can ruin your social life in New York City. Like, she's that well connected. And, Samantha is just like begging, for Shippy to help her. And, yeah, Shippy's like, I think I know you from somewhere. And Samantha's like, maybe you know my charitable acts with the Javier house. And she's like, no, that's not it. I believe that you were the whore who once groped my husband at a Whitney benefit. Like, this is all coming back to haunt her. Don't be fucking around with married men if you're not ready for the fucking karma.
Welcome to karma.
I love Samantha, but not right now. She didn't.
Yeah. Samantha Marie.
And Samantha still tries, though. She's like, so you're friends with Shippy, right? Can you talk to her for me? And I mean, you're friends with Sandy Cranwell.
Oh yeah, it's Sandy. Yeah. She's
Shippy,
like, can you say something?
Shippy's like, yeah, we go back to since college. They've known each other.
Yeah.
And Samantha's like, can you talk to her for me? And Shippy's like, no. She's like, you've made your bed and you need to lie in it. And you're good at that.
What's happening.
Aren't you, Samantha?
Ooh, fighting words. Ding, 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 ding. Like,
the
oh my
little
God.
head tilt and everything.
I love the way Samantha talks in this next couple of sentences.
I love it too. Oh my God. And she's like, what do you want me to say, Shippy? That I'm a big whore? All right, I'll say it. I'm a big whore. Now
I love the way she says it. She's like, that I'm a whore. Like, she says it with a fucking Cool Whip kind of whore. And I'm like, I love the way she says that. Like, dude, it's so funny. Oh, God.
Still begs her for help.
Yeah.
And Shippy's like, no.
No.
And Samantha gets up and she's pissed. She's like, I only groped your husband's flat, preppy ass because I was drunk. I'll see myself out. I love that line.
Who would grope someone? I don't think I've ever groped a man's butt that I was not dating. Like, that's insane. That's insane behavior. Just out in public, just a little. No.
Yeah, no, I was like, I have done that to a couple dudes, but I'm like, no.
I'm like my friends, like guy friends, I'll smack them. I'll be like, get out of here.
On the butt?
Yeah, or the side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, never just groped a guy. You know what? Samantha might be onto something with that.
Like, maybe it would work. Try it out. Get back. Tell me how it goes.
Research for the podcast.
Exactly. And then we go to Miranda in this next scene, and she's just walking down the street, and everything seems fine, but then her vision starts to go sideways and blurry. And this is a really interesting, like as far as like the camera work in this scene, it's really good, and it does do a very solid job of depicting what it's like to have a panic attack
Yeah,
visually.
it's slightly triggering for me right now. It's in like thinking about
Yeah,
this scene, I
so
tend to
her
avoid
eyes
it.
roll back and everything is just flashing before her eyes, and in her confusion she starts like walking forward, you know, because her everything's spinning in her head, she can't even see straight. She walks into the street and almost gets run over by a fucking car. So this is the second
Ooh.
time in this
Yeah.
episode she almost dies. That's
Yeah.
fucking scary.
Yeah.
And so she hails a separate cab than the one that tried to hit her, or almost hit her. I'm sorry, I'm sure they weren't trying to. um and she tells them, take me to the hospital, like I need to go
Yeah.
to the hospital. And the next scene we see Carrie at the hospital with Miranda, and Miranda explains that the doctor said that she had a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I felt like I was drowning and dying at the same time. And Carrie
Yeah.
asks Miranda, what's going on? Because
Yeah.
this is just so unlike Miranda. You know, she's usually the one that's got the, you
Yeah.
know, head on her shoulders. She's like, no bullshit and all of that, but she's not okay right now. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. If you're usually that person that always has it together, it's okay to not be okay sometimes. And it's okay to lean on your,
100%.
especially when they're always leaning on you.
Yeah.
But Miranda looks at Carrie and she says, take a good look at my face, because at my funeral, there's only going to be half of it. I'm going to be dead, my cat will be happy, and Charlotte's going to be picking up men at the next gravesite. Over.
Dude, what a wild response. It's so
For
funny.
real.
I love
And
that.
Miranda is just like, I'm all alone.
Yeah.
And Carrie's like, you're not. You have me, and you have, you know, Charlotte and Samantha. We have each
She's
other.
like, you screen.
Yeah, she's like, you screen my phone calls. She's like, I'll stop doing that.
Yeah.
And, you know, for once, honestly, Carrie was a really good friend here. She was emotionally supportive and there for her friend, and she didn't make it about Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that Carrie does here that I feel like was really necessary, she reminds Miranda, this is a really amazing thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
She's like, you love your apartment, right?
Yeah.
She's like, I do. She's like, that's good. Like, just enjoy that, you know? And it's the first time in this episode that somebody tells Miranda to be proud of herself over this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she even explains, like, you know, her emergency contacts were her parents. She doesn't even like them. She doesn't have people in her life that are like rooting for her other than her friends.
Mm-hmm.
And she needed her friends in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next scene, we have Charlotte at Ned's wife's memorial.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlotte arrives early, and she has this big, beautiful bouquet of white lilies. And she gets out of her cab and is just so happy to see Ned. She walks over, and you know, they kiss. They start talking a little bit, and then he like looks over her shoulder and like waves. And Charlotte turns around and sees not one but two women with identical bouquets of flowers. And she turns around back to Ned. She's like, please tell me those are your sisters. And he's just like, I don't have sisters, while he's waving at the other ladies.
Oh, God.
And she's fucking pissed. She hits him with the bouquet of flowers and storms off.
My thing, though, here is like, what was he trying to do? Why get them all together? Were they gonna like have to fight, like, and see who's gonna win?
Love right now, like Flava Flav.
Yeah, like
the clock.
That's so bizarre. Like, he could have just kept them separate,
or like had multiple memorials like on like different days and had.
Yeah.
Wow, we're thinking this out better than he did. Wild.
Or my psycho brain is thinking, what if that's not even his wife, and this is a whole big elaborate plan to sleep with women?
Because how would they know?
Exactly.
There's no social media to fact.
And there's no pictures of them together.
Oh! And if you look at the headstone too, I tried to see when the dates were. There's no birth date on it. Like, I found that so weird.
Interesting.
So she could have been however many years old,
Yeah.
you know? But anyways.
So welcome to Overanalyzing and Overthinking. I'm your host, Bella.
And I'm your other host, Tina.
That's the shit I think of. That's the shit I think of.
But Charlotte realized for sure that she was not the only woman bringing Ned back to life. I also found it interesting. I don't know if you noticed, but everyone's wearing black, but Charlotte's wearing white.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I didn't notice.
I noticed it like the 15th time I watched the episode. Okay, well, we have the next scene, and Samantha is volunteering at the Javier house, like in the nitty and gritty. She's with the construction workers, running
like
a wheelbarrow,
like building the house.
Yeah, because she couldn't get anybody to donate money. She's like putting in her actual time because she promised to help out with it. And, you know, no one's even returning her phone calls. Like, that's how bad the social hit was.
Yeah.
That's bad. But lo and behold, guess who she runs into? Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't see him. He's not actually in the show, but they just mention him. You know, it's like, what a random when I rewatched this one, I was like, what a weird plot. Like, this was just a weird, like, I get they're trying to do like a whole like death and dying funeral episode, but I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, you know, this was like 98, 99. Titanic came out in like, what, 92 or so? He was still like at the height, like the big part of his career.
Oh, yeah.
What the intention was of having Leonardo DiCaprio there was that him and Samantha became friends. So his popularity was able to overshadow the social hit that Shippy and on her.
Right, because that's just New York socialite bullshit. This is Leonardo DiCaprio, you know?
Exactly. So because of their friendship, he was able to bring her back to life. She was no longer blacklisted, and she was able to move on. And the symbolism is really funny here. So we don't see Leonardo DiCaprio. There's a man and a light behind him, and he reaches out his hand to Samantha, and she reaches out for it. What's that famous photo called again? A painting, I mean, where it's the hands.
Oh, like the creation. What's it called?
Yeah. They mimic that.
It's not the creation of man, or is it?
Samantha gets pulled into the light with Leonardo DiCaprio. Very.
You know what
symbolic.
You know what I found interesting? I was like, you know, we're over here talking about Samantha's karma, and I was like, thinking now, I'm like, I guess her being humiliated and humbling herself to Shippy. I think now this was her karma. Like, this was her good karma, you know, for the first time. Samantha's like laid down her ego and was like, all right, I'm begging you, you know, she got really humbled. And I think that was her karma for being humbled. So,
yeah, I guess it needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because don't be sleeping with married men. Fuck around and find out, dude. Man. Well, next scene is something. Miranda writes a letter. So the mortgage office made a mistake when they were filing her paperwork. That fucking douchebag who
did that shit on purpose.
Believe that Miranda could do this didn't even do his one job correctly.
Yep.
And he labeled her as separated. After all of the boxes that she checked of being a single woman, they still fucked up her paperwork and labeled her as separated. So she had to write a letter explaining that she's not separated, that she is just single. She's not married, she's single. And as she's beginning to type, she begins to panic again. And you can like tell like
Yeah.
her anxiety is building again. And I appreciate that this show talked about panic attacks
Mm-hmm.
and shed a little bit of light on this very real thing. You know, people literally go to the hospital because it's so all encompassing and scary.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they did a good job of the resolution of her panic attack, because in this moment they were just like, she just decided to deal with the situation and type. So
Honestly, though, that's what would help me get out of mine. Sometimes
yeah, but
I had to like just do something, and then it would like kick me out of it.
I get that. But the way that they talk about it here is that she no longer ever had a panic attack again.
Hey, honestly though, sometimes it happens like that.
Really?
Um, yes, I was talking to my therapist about it. The reason why this is so triggering for me, I struggled with really, really, really bad panic attacks last year and this year. But it's fucking knock on wood, I haven't had one since then. But my therapist, my first session, I was like, am I going to live with this for the rest of my life? I was like, is this something I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life? Because I don't know how I'm going to do this. And she goes, no. And she's like, panic disorders aren't all, you never, it can go away, it can lessen. She goes, I used to have it too. She was like, I was in my 20s. She's in her 40s. She goes, I have not had one since.
Good
And
for
yeah, and it's really working through it and working with her. I haven't had one since April, like knock on wood and stuff too. Um,
Yeah. Shout out to your
yeah,
therapist. I don't know her name,
she
but
does heavy work for me, dude. She does all the fucking. She's all the brawn, man. So
yay.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, panic attacks are not fun. Not
No,
fun at
they're
all.
not.
They're
They are.
beyond. It's beyond anxiety. It's beyond being nervous. It's you feel like you're dying,
Yeah.
like, and you get physical symptoms of that you're dying. It's freaky. This is why I try and explain to people. I'm like, the brain is so powerful. Our brains are so freaking powerful. It's insane what we can think into existence.
Yeah.
So
Man. But she is able to kick her panic attacks. She's able to find resolution with that. And she's finally able to enjoy her apartment. You
yeah.
know, right after she's done writing the letter, she goes into one of the boxes and pulls a photo in a frame of her and her friends and puts it on
Hmm.
her fireplace mantle. And, you know, she's thinking to herself, I probably won't end up alone.
Yeah.
But just in case, she's going to keep on overfeeding the cat.
And
Just in
this is
case.
where Fatty comes to be.
Fatty.
Fatty, he's such a
Oh,
cute cat.
he is such a good cat.
It's so funny to me that Miranda's not funny. I mean, like, I guess it makes sense that she's a cat person.
I can't imagine her with the dog. Oh, actually, we did see her with a dog, and it did not go well.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But next scene, we're at Carrie's apartment, and Mr. Big comes to her door, and she had been screening his calls for 3 days. So
Mm.
she calls him up out of the blue after going to a funeral and asks him to dinner. They go on a date, and then they make out in front of his apartment, and she runs away and then doesn't answer the phone for 3 days. So she opens the door and he's like, "Good, you're alive," and then
And then
turns around.
turns away.
Yeah, he's pissed.
Yeah, he's
And she like
pissed.
grabs him and she's like, "Wait, I'm sorry." And she she starts kissing him and stuff, and she pulls away again and he's like, "Don't do this again." She's like, "I can't do
Yeah.
this, not here." And so she grabs her coat and her keys. She's like, "Come on, we're leaving."
Yeah.
And she says that she took him to the least sexual place that she could think of, which was a bowling alley.
Wait, What are y'all talking about? I get turned
I
on
know.
by the bowling
I'm
alley.
like, I love bowling. Bowling is so much fun.
Bowling's such a fun fucking date, dude.
It is.
Someone just recently
Oh,
asked me
remember
that,
when
and I
we
was
got
like,
a bowling team?
yes. If you guys did not know, Tina and I, we've mentioned it. We went to high school together. But we were
Yeah.
on the bowling team together. That was our sport in high school.
One of them.
Um,
We also did taekwondo.
for a hot second. But that wasn't like official. Like it wasn't like through, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
I'm sorry, that one was a club.
that was the club. But like we still did that. But yeah, no, we did. Yeah, that was so much fun. I absolutely adore bowling. It's
I
so
do
fun.
too. I miss our
It's one of my
$1 games.
yeah, like
Because
I
now
used
they're
to
like
just eat
$50.
cheese fries and bowl and
Yeah, fried Oreos.
oh my god. And now we can drink. Yeah, bowling's a great date.
It really is. It's expensive now though. It's not as cheap as
Mhm.
that sucks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But this I feel like this date was such an amazing idea on her part. And this is really the first time in their relationship that Carrie starts to set boundaries with Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And that's really cool of her. They're enjoying themselves, and I feel like this is really the opening of their friendship, because you can be with
Yeah.
somebody and like not be friends with them, and then
Yeah.
you can be with somebody and be friends with them, and like honestly, it's so much fun to be friends with your
Yeah.
partner,
Oh
you know.
yeah. You need it. You need it.
But some people can do without. Like some people are
Yeah.
like, "That's my partner. These are the things that I do with them, and then these are my friends." And I think wasn't it in ancient Greece where you had your wife or your husband, and then you had your soulmate. It was like a separate thing. I forgot if it was the Greeks or the Romans that
Weird.
did
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, and it was just like, you have your marriage because of the finances of your house and all of these things, and then you have the actual like love of your life. And it was, but it's interesting, they're trying, this is the first time that they really explore that aspect of their relationship. And I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
And then the game ends, and Mr. Big is like, "Oh, I won the game," and Carrie's like, "Best 2 out of 3." And if you notice a lot in the show, when they talk about certain things, it's about them. It's symbolism.
Yeah.
And Carrie's like, "Best 2 out of 3," and Mr. Big's like, "You want to play a second game?" Carrie's like, "Maybe." And he asks her, "Are you sure you're ready to get killed all over again?" Was that a
See, I'm like triggered. That's just triggering for me now. Back like maybe 5 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh my god, yeah," and now I'm just like, "No,
What the
no,
fuck is that?
how
No.
dare you!" Like you're just implying that you're gonna break my heart all over
Yeah.
again.
And Carrie's just like, "Yep, let's do it."
Chingo.
I know. And, in her like monologue, she says how, she felt like Mr. Big and her had reincarnated, and
Mhm.
she had never felt more alive. And I do
Which
think
is
it's because he
wild.
finally like set boundaries with him. And
Mhm.
I personally feel like this episode, this scene in the bowling alley, I feel like this is when Mr. Big actually fell for her. When she was
Really?
no longer just like a fuck toy or whatever, like somebody I fuck around
Mhm.
with. I do feel like this is when he was like, "Oh, I actually kind of like her." Because if you notice in this episode, it's him like coming after her and But
Yeah, because Carrie's not initiating it. It's cat and
yeah,
mouse.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's the one who has to get chased, and yeah, it's that black
Mhm.
cat energy that now she has. So he's golden retrievering.
Yeah.
But that's how this episode ends. They agree to start going out again.
Yeah.
And
Am I
personally, little
Oh,
side
go
note.
ahead.
It's just a quick little side note. For those of you who have already watched the show, and have watched And Just Like That. This is for you. I think about this episode a lot when I see the first episode of And Just Like That. This is the
Yeah.
episode that I think of.
Yeah, like the parallel.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, what were you
So
gonna say?
we'll get into that. Oh, am I mistaken? There was this another episode when they're kissing in the doorway. Does he say something like, "What are you gonna do?" Or like, is this part? Like, I could have sworn I remember Big saying something like, "Somebody who answers my calls," and like pulls her in and
Yeah,
kisses. Is
yeah.
that this
So
episode?
yeah, so back when they were at the when he shows up at her door, um, and he's like, "You haven't answered the phone in 3 days." He was like, "I had tickets for like a
Oh yeah,
like a game, like a really big sports game." And Carrie's
yeah.
like, "Well, who'd you take?"
And
And
she's
he's like,
like,
"Somebody who
"Damn,
returns
yeah."
my calls."
Yeah, that the way, but he grits it out of his teeth, and that's the sexiest thing. I had to say it. It's just one of the sexiest things a man can do is like talk while they're like, like holding their teeth and like, oh, just I was like, this is the episode. I just wanted to note that me Bella loves that. But it was cute, like the way she pulls him into, and she's just like, oh
Yeah,
damn, it's very
playful and
it's very
like
playful and
goofy
it
and stuff, and like
right.
I think that that is yeah.
It's important.
I
So
feel like that's such a huge difference from the first season where it's like anytime she had a feeling, she showed up in the middle of the night, she showed up wasted and yelled at him about it rather than talking to him like a fucking adult. At
been
least being
there.
like, like being fun about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
it's hard. It's hard navigating this
it
shit.
is.
So
It's hard when you have big emotions. Doesn't matter how old
that's
you
for
are.
sure. But yeah, so that's the end of season 2, episode 5 for Women in a Funeral.
Yep.
We got through that. Yeah, we talk about, heavy topics is like grief and death and dying and it's but
Newest
this would just
life.
what?
Oh, I was just commenting on that. Yeah, like a lot of different.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a heavier one, but there's still some lightness to it and but yeah, it just I love the show because it does kind of hit on things like in your day-to-day life, and just life in general. But yeah, so it's a good one to have. I'm glad we dressed
Yeah,
up. It's kind of a vibe.
yeah, it really
So,
is.
sunglasses. But
I
yeah,
do really like this episode.
so I think we're now officially a quarter of the way done with season 2. So,
Are you
yeah.
serious?
Yeah.
Holy
There's
shit!
18 episodes. So,
Wow,
um
gone by quick.
yeah, I know it goes by super fast. So yeah, so next week we'll be doing season 2, episode 6. That one's
The
the
cheating
cheater,
curve.
the cheating curve. Oh god, dude, I don't know
Yeah,
if I want to talk about this one.
we're
I
gonna
don't know
be
if I'm
talking
mentally
about what cheating means to different people
ugh, that's
and
okay.
the quantum physics of cheating.
I love that. But yeah, so thanks you guys for listening in or watching or both, for all the support. We know we love doing this. We love you guys. We're excited to keep the rest of it going. So we will see you guys again next week. Thank you so much. Bye guys.